Hey y'all. So this is going to be a testimony. Um Let me see, let me fix this. So I just wanted to tell people pretty much my testimony about my stroke. So you see me, I walk around, I smile all the time, and there was a time when I was going through it a lot, and I want to tell my women to be very careful with the birth control that is being prescribed to you by these doctors. That there are other ways to not get pregnant. Um, there are other ways to make the decision to not have babies. Let's just get into it. So I was at work one day and I got a headache, and it was really bad to the point where, like, I took pain medicine. I had to put my head down on the table, whatever. So for months from that point on, I wound up with a headache all the time. So let's say about 6 months, I'm headache, still popping my birth control pills, still going to work every day. And now, on top of going to work every day, now I'm making appointments to go see a neurologist because I was going to the emergency room at least 2 or 3 times a week, where they were giving me actual medication to get rid of the migraine headache that I was having. And then they progressively got worse. They were coming every day. And then I went to the neurologist. Neurologist gave me some medicine that was a powder form that once I felt the migraine coming on, I was supposed to put it in some water, drink it. And that worked for a while. Let's say about 8 months in, I wound up at work with the headache. My supervisor sent me to the back and told me to just go put my head down for a minute. So I put my head down, and it's like it was a banging right here. It was a banging right here in the middle of my head. And then, like, the light, I was so sensitive to lights. And this headache, for whatever reason, was worse than any other headache I ever had. So I told him, I said, you know what, I got to go home. So I go pick my son up from the daycare. And then I get home, give him a bath. I get home, I get in the shower, and I lay down. He's in the living room watching TV, and my mom calls me, and she like, hey, how you doing? And she said that she couldn't understand what I was saying. So then my best friend calls me, and she like, hey, my mom calls back, and she like, say something again. So then my best friend calls back, and she like, say something again. So then, long story short, they rush over to the house. They come get me, and I'm to the hospital. Same hospital I always go to for migraines, but this time they bring me in the intake, and I'm slurring my words. Like, I'm talking like this, and I don't normally talk like that. So then, when they picked me up initially, like, this side of my face, my whole right side of my face was like this, like pushed up. And then my best friend thought it was because I was leaning on the pillow. So she was like, because I had chinky eyes in my face sometimes, my eyes are poofy up under and stuff like that from me being, these little itty bitty eyes. They just thought maybe it was just a reaction to me being knocked out. So when I get to the hospital, my face is twisted more. And when the young lady started asking me questions, I was not speaking clearly. So she puts me on the blood pressure cuff, and she says, so what's been going on? And I'm trying to tell her. So my best friend starts speaking for me, and then the blood pressure cuff says 239 over 183. And the girl looks at me with fear in her eyes, and she said, let me do this again. So she goes to process it again. She gets on the intercom. We need somebody to the front of emergency stat. They rush me to the back. They put me on all this medication. At the time, my son was there, and y'all, that was the scariest moment I ever been. Like, it was the most scariest thing I ever had happen to me. I did not know what to do. My body was doing things that I could not stop it from doing. So, long story short, 239 over 183, they rushed me to the back. Over a week's time, they MRIing me. They giving me all this medication to bring my blood pressure down. They're putting me under these x-rays, and they're testing me, and they constantly pulling blood every couple of hours. They got me on a constant regimen of no salt diet. My son cried when they took him from the hospital. He was kicking and he was screaming, and he didn't want to go. And I was scared for him to go because I didn't know if he was going to see me again. I had all these tubes coming out of me. I had nurses in there 24/7, and then my pastor comes. Reverend Thompson comes and he prays over me, and then my grandma praying, and she rubbed me with oil. She put it on the bottom of my feet. She put it on the top of my head. And the nurse comes in, and the doctors are trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to figure out, like, okay, this girl, she's 21 years old. Her face is twisted. She can barely walk. Her whole right leg, her whole arm, everything is like dead. She can't lift it. They don't understand. I don't understand. So they do this last MRI on me, and my pastor comes, and he's praying. My grandma in there praying, speaking in tongues. My godmama's there, my cousin's there, my mom is there, and everybody's just like, Lord, please don't let this be the end. Do only what you can do. So the doctor comes in a couple of days later. He was like, well, Miss Sumlin, we got to let you go because, like, we're doing tests and, the MRIs are not showing anything. He was like, when you came and your pressure was 239/183, like, we saw spots on your brain when we did the initial test. But when we go back to do the test, like, we don't see nothing. Like, I can't put nothing, like, I've never seen anything like this before. I've never, I don't know how to tell you, but, like, you had a stroke, but, like, everything is being reversed. I don't know how to explain it. He was like, the spots that we saw from this, and he shows me, he was like, we don't see those spots anymore. So then my mom is outside on the phone while he's talking to me, and my grandma's in there, and she's shouting, and my mom says that she goes to the desk and she can hear the nurses talking about me, and they were like, oh, they was in there doing voodoo. We was here last night, and they was praying and speaking in a language I ain't never heard before, and that's the only reason why, so the doc, as he's talking to me, he's like, I don't know who you pray to or but just know, like, whatever you was doing or whatever y'all was doing, it worked. So they released me. I had a walker. I had a cane. I had to get help to go to the bathroom. I had to learn how to do everything again. I wasn't talking clearly. And this goes to show you that, like, whatever you go through, God will allow you to go through it. And kind of like how the three dudes was in the fire, and they saw a fourth man in there. And then when they came out, after all of that heat and how everybody who was in front of the furnace burned up, but they didn't, he will allow you to go through things and you come out not smelling like smoke. He will allow you to see some things and understand that, like, it's just for you to be able to testify. So long story short, within 3 months, I went to physical therapy every week, and I now have the activity of every one of my limbs. I don't walk with a limp. My leg isn't heavy. Everything I thought that was going to be wrong was fixed. I'm a whole new creature in him. The only thing I notice is that when something makes me upset or I get really anxious, that I stutter. But that is a small price to pay for all of the things that God corrected. Like, I literally can hold my babies in my arms. I couldn't even lift my arm. I literally can walk without a limp. I couldn't even walk without my leg feeling heavy. God is a restorer. He has restored me, and he has fixed things that I thought he could never change. So just know that he is a renewing God, that he is changing everything that you thought was wrong and making it right. Just know that that I want you to be encouraged, and it wasn't voodoo. It was God working his miracles in my life and showing those people that he can do exceedingly abundantly above whatever you can ask or even think. And he was able to show me something that I didn't. I'm 21 years old. There's no way I should be in the hospital with blood pressure over 238/183. The normal blood pressure is below 140, and your bottom number need to be below 90. They still to this day don't understand how it happened. But I sit here before you. That happened when I was 21. I am 34 years old. God is wonderful. He is nothing but a blessing to me. And his grace and mercy is so sufficient in every moment. They now call it, they say it's not a stroke. They name it a migraine complexity. And they took me off all birth control. I can no longer take that stuff. So, what I would tell every woman who watches this, that if you're having problems with migraines or your body is doing things that it should not do, you bleeding for 12 to 14 days, or you not getting a period at all, your body is made to work the way God created it to work. And if you're making those decisions so that you can lay in something that's making you comfortable, please change your decisions. Your life depends on it. Birth control is not for everybody. And the things that it's restricting can be detrimental to who you are. And I sit here before you today at 34 years old, healed, transformed, and renewed. Just know that I love y'all, and even through a stroke, God can do exceedingly abundantly above what I could ever ask, because I went to physical therapy and learned how to do everything all over again. God will give you the words to say, and he will give you the mindset to change. Just be willing, able, open, humble, open, and transparent to do it. And just know, stay encouraged.